deficiency anemia?
You would still, I mean, there are people up there that do it, but I mean, it doesn't correct itself right away. Because think about it, it still has a cycle of hemoglobin that you have to do. It takes you about 120 days to actually, start the process. But it would help you, I mean, because it's going to make you hypoxic, but you'll be really tired because you notice the difference.
But you don't necessarily have to take iron tablets?
No, they do, because if it's a true iron deficiency, because that's something that you see in lab work. So even though they're going to stimulate you to produce more RBCs by the hypoxia, if you have an iron deficiency, you're never going to get to what your normal level is going to be. So you still have to treat the underlying issue that they have. So tired and fatigue are some things the patient complains about. Okay, they may be cold. They'll say, "Oh my God, I'm cold all the time." What do they look like? They're usually pale. For those of color, where do you look? Look at nail beds, conjunctiva, because those are things that are going to tell you. Because we got all colors of the rainbow in the room, so everybody's going to be different. But there are people, I mean, sometimes when you see Caucasian people who are really low, it's like looking, you can't even see them on the sheet. Got hair. That's all you see because they are that pale. Okay. I would never get that pale, but if you looked at my mucosa, it'd be very pale. Okay, so you're going to see a difference in that. So look for paleness in Caucasian people. You can look at their skin. For people of color, of all different colors, and sometimes in Caucasian people, you got them all colors of the rainbow too. So you look in their conjunctiva, so that means you're going to pull their little eyelid back. Look at that. Look at nail beds, those types of things. Look at oral mucosa. Those would be places that you look for to see if they're pale. That's general things for all three different types of anemia that you have. These are kind of things the person is complaining about. Because when you read, like I said, when you read them, they're going to sound exactly the same. There's one of them, though, that's different. Okay, that's B12. Not just because, I mean, it's an anemia. It's got a different name. That's the thing you worry, oh man, they all sound the same. The one thing that makes it different is people who have B12 deficiency have neurologic complaints. So those are the people that tell you, my fingers tingle. Numbness and tingling in the extremities is a big piece of what they complain about. They have paresthesias. When you got an iron deficiency patient, they're not complaining about that. You got a folate patient, they ain't complaining about that. But it's the B12 patient going over into the pernicious anemia, because that's a continuation of that disease. That's the person that tells you I have numbness, tingling. They may have nutty, I'm not saying nutty, but basically they can have confusion associated with it. So when you see a patient who has an anemia that has neurologic symptoms, meaning I can have confusion, paresthesias, that kind of thing, that's a B12 patient. Iron deficiency people don't have that. It's a difference. Okay? So when you read about them, they're going to sound, when you look at signs and symptoms, they're going to be a lot alike. Because even with one of the other things they always tell you about with patients who have B12 and folate, the macrocytic anemias, they always tell you that the patient can have a really big, beefy red tongue, but that can also happen in an iron deficiency patient. It's less likely. They usually have cracks around the corners of their mouth, but they can also have that issue about a large tongue. So don't just automatically say they're on that side, because it can happen, but it happens more with the macrocytic anemias. So if they macro, big tongue, that's why you see it more often. That's how you can associate it together. So it's usually, they'll tell you their tongue is really sore. So eating is painful. And so they'll tell you, I can't eat anything, I need you to give me some xylocaine, swish and swallow before I can even eat. That's how tender their tongue can be. Now, so for all these people, no matter what type of anemia I have, I got to do replacement, right? So if we have iron, we got to do iron replacement. If we have folate, we got to do folate replacement. And then if we have B12, they have to have replacement, but we can't give any orals over here. What do we give them usually? That's the person that takes the injection. For these, we can give IV or oral. For both of these. Now this one is not great to do. We have to give IV iron for a person. It's not a great thing to do because it can cause a lot of problems. But if you got a person with severe iron deficiency, that you'll see that happen. But it's so rare that you see that happen to a person. It is not the greatest thing to give to a person. I have a lot of problems. You can have anaphylaxis, kind of die stuff with IV iron. So we only do that if we have to. We can give oral supplementation, usually in a pill. But if you give it in a liquid, what do you have to do? Give it with a straw. Because it stains the teeth, especially in kids. Okay, you do it for everybody, but especially in kids because that can be permanent. So they can have permanent discoloration of their teeth, so you don't want to do that. Okay, so we can give iron, IV or oral. Oral is preferred. Oral is preferred for all of these because actually if you go over through the GI tract is the best, but if you have people with bad disease in the GI tract, you might have to give it to them in other ways. Okay, so we know that this is the constipation making machine over here. Right? So what are we going to tell patients to do? Questions? You want to make sure they increase their fluid intake, increase activity as they tolerate. Now remember, they're tired, so they may tell you, I ain't doing nothing but sit down in this chair, leave me alone. Okay, but you know activity, that actually increases motility, so the person actually has bowel movement. So that's part of the routine, but only tell them that's tolerated, because if you try to get people to work on stuff too hard, remember, if they don't have enough oxygen going around, they're going to feel even more tired. Okay, but increase fluid in their diet. You want to increase bulk, so you increase fiber, because that's going to help, unless they have an active GI problem. Because remember, if you got a person with inflammatory bowel, you can't really do that. Anything that's inflammatory to the bowel, you don't want to give a lot of fiber to because it actually causes problems. But if their GI tract is normal, you want them to do that. And you have to let people know, yeah, you may bloat for a little bit until your body gets used to it, and then you're going to get better. The major thing is to make sure they understand if you can do it for 2 to 3 months, you don't have to do it anymore. The vast majority of patients, you know, and pretty much in some of your settings where you are now, you give people iron every day for years. And you're going like, what are we doing? And now you know, we don't have to give it to them that long. If you can get their hemoglobin or their hematocrit up to a certain amount, if you can get that into the normal range, we truly only have to treat them 2 to 3 months afterwards. Because that's going to replace their iron store. So they don't have to take it forever. Then you don't have them talking about, I haven't constipated for life, kind of thing. Because that's what they want to tell you about. Every time you go in the room, right? Because they want to start the day off. I didn't go yet. It's 9:05. I'm doing it at 9:04 every day. Kind of thing. So that's the kind of stuff they want to tell you. But if we can do that, that's going to help as far as that goes, making sure they understand that. Timing is one of those other important things. Remember, certain drugs you're not supposed to take when you're taking iron, so, or certain foods. So no dairy, milk products, that kind of thing is not supposed to be done at the same time. You optimize absorption when you can take it on an empty stomach with orange juice. And then you have to tell the patient about what foods to eat. Yes, organ meats are going to be there. Red meat is going to be there. Most things that we have nowadays, when you see questions that say enriched, and the question means that they actually add nutrients that we need to them, because enriched bread products is what most white breads are nowadays. Even though you don't get the good fiber piece that goes along with that, most of them are enriched with vitamins and minerals, that kind of stuff that you actually need in your diet. So those are kind of things, when you look at that in the question, enriched is telling you that they've added stuff to it that a person needs. Okay? But by far you're going to get it better from protein sources and that kind of thing. It helps you hold on to it a little bit longer. But that's one of the things you do with the patient, is make sure they understand. Patient teaching is going to be important about following your regimen. You know, we're going to follow it up. We have to do some diagnostics with this as well. Not only did we do the CBC, but we do a serum iron level, which is iron that's actually in your blood, and ferritin is what's stored in your liver. Okay, so they actually do both those testings. The third test they do is total iron binding capacity, or TIBC. And that's the ability of iron to bind on hemoglobin. So those are things that you're going to do as far as testing goes for your iron. Okay, so we're going to do a serum iron, a serum ferritin level, and then they'll do a total iron binding capacity. So those are the things that they look at to see where your iron stores, what the actual numbers are, because they're going to do what's actually in your blood. Ferritin is the stored form of iron that's in your liver, and then they do the ability of iron to actually bind. So that's what those 3 tests they could do to see where your iron levels are. All right, for our folate levels, we know those are mostly alcoholics, but we also have some other people that need a lot more folate, and that's going to be a pregnant woman, because she actually needs it for development of the child, from neural tubes and that kind of stuff, so the neurology piece that goes along with her developing baby. So that's what you're going to see. You can see it also in patients who have malabsorption syndromes, those types of things. So it can be pediatric, because we have those in kids, but you also have it some in adults as well. They have malabsorption things going on in the GI tract. So those are going to be your people at risk for having that type of problem. So we have to replace these as well. So folate is something we can give in an IV, and that's a lot of times initially, especially when you see alcoholics first come in the hospital. The thing that you see them, we worry about that first 2 days about them having DTs. But the other thing we do is try to shore up their nutritional status. So we usually give them IV fluids, and we call them banana bags. So we put a multivitamin, that's why it turns yellow. And then it also has folate in here. So that's something they usually get for the first few days when they're in the hospital. We give it to them IV, because I want to get your numbers up a bit. So that's what I'm going to actually do for that patient. Then I'm going to give them supplementation. Folic acid is fairly cheap. I mean, you can buy it over the counter, bottle of it that lasts for a couple of months. It's like $5. So you can do that. You can take supplementation. But you also want to give them things to eat that have more folate in them. So nuts have a lot more folate than a lot of different things. They also have it as a supplement to, they enrich foods with it. So we have enriched bread products, meat, that kind of stuff can have it as well. But it's one of those things that has a short half-life in the gut. So that's usually why if a person has a true folate deficiency, you actually have to see if something else is going on. Because sometimes these exist together. When you talk about folate and B12, sometimes that is a deficiency that goes hand in hand. Okay, so you have to figure out whether or not they have those. So we can do a serum folate level on this patient. And I will tell you, people who have folate deficiencies, doctors usually just automatically go ahead and order a B12 level for the patient. So you'll see it's a test. They have it, you can exist as one exam, but most of the time they'll tell B12 and folate is one test that they order together for these patients that have deficiency. So what I'm going to do is actually provide supplementation for this patient. This one sometimes takes a little bit longer. So sometimes we have to treat you from 9 months to a year once we get your numbers back to normal. And it's mainly because usually whatever's causing it means it's either an ongoing condition, which you may have people with GI kind of stuff going on, or the alcoholic doesn't stop drinking. So you can't really fix it until they get rid of all of the behaviors that's causing the problem. But they still all look alike kind of thing, right? Remember over here, this person's different. So they're going to have some other issues going on. That's the numbness tingling person. They're going to be pale, beefy tongue, but they also can be nutty as a fruitcake kind of stuff. Seriously, you can have some people that come in and it mimics acute dementia. That's how bad it can be. Okay. So you look at their history, because that's something that's going to lead you to that spot. Person comes in here looking pale and confused. I'm going to ask them, have you had any GI surgeries? You know, if their family says, I don't know, all of a sudden mom just went nuts. I don't know what's going on with her. She's doing all this kind of crazy stuff. We're bringing her in here. Doctor said she was anemic, but I don't understand why that's happening. If you look at what type of anemia she has, because truly it can mimic acute dementia. That's how bad it can be in a person. They'll tell you, yeah, my hands are numb and cold all the time. I have pins and needles in my feet, that kind of stuff. But they can be as nutty as I don't know what when they come in, totally confused. Don't even know the people they came in the hospital with. That's how bad it can be. Okay. So with this particular test, we actually do a vitamin B12 level. We also do what we call a Schilling's test. This is urine and blood. So you're seeing the absorption of B12 once it's actually given to the patient. So it's you have to give them something, then you have to take blood and urine. And so they're seeing if this person is really absorbing the B12. So they're going to get a B12, I will tell you, they do a B12 and folate level on the patient, and then you're going to see a Schilling's test done for the patient. And then we need to figure out, hey, we got to get supplementation. Now, if this person does have, there's no real, the reason that you don't have a whole lot of, I mean, there's some people that say, yeah, you can treat B12 orally, but you can't. It's the absorption rate in the stomach, it actually destroys B12 more than it gives it to you, kind of thing. So what you have to do for these people is give injections. In general, when they're in the hospital, we give them an injection every day at the beginning. So you may see a person get a shot 3 times. Some doctors, if it's not really bad, may give you one now, they'll give you another one in 3 days, and then they do it that way. But usually people are really bad when they're in the hospital. So you may see a person get B12 injections every day for 3-4 days. Then when you go home, you don't have to get them as often. Once you get their B12 numbers up to where they need to be, you may be given an injection once a week, you may be given an injection once a month. A lot of it depends on how well the patient absorbs. Or if they do have something left in the gut or the gut heals, and they're making some intrinsic factor, you may not have to give it as often. But usually with pernicious anemia, that's a lifelong thing. So if the person gets to that point, you won't have to give the supplementation forever. Some patients learn how to take their own med. Some people go to their doctor all the time, come in and get a shot, the medical assistant gives it to you and they go home. So it just depends on the person, or they teach somebody in the family to do it for the patient. But those are general things you're going to do as far as, this one doesn't have a whole lot that helps you GI-wise. I mean, as far as foods go, yeah, there's some things that have B12, and yes, they're enriched, but it's never going to give you enough of what you need to actually correct a deficiency when you're talking about B12. These you can correct between pills and food. This one never kind of gets that way when you're talking about doing that. There's no kind of magic bullet or the magic foods that say, yes, this is what's going to happen. The patient's going to get better, and that kind of thing when you're talking about those. But when you have a person who has anemia, there's either decreased production of cells or there's increased destruction of cells. So you have decreased production, not enough of them being formed. You have you have a person who has increased destruction, meaning that turnover time, you're killing them faster than they should be. And when you're talking about anemias, that's RBCs. So instead of living 120 days, they might be living 60, or they might be living 40, or that kind of thing. Those are usually the hemolytic anemias, things that are destroying the cells. Okay. And then the last one is because we don't have a building block that's associated with it. That's where these kind of guys fit in. There's a piece that's missing. So either it's going to be iron, B12, folate, or I can have magnesium, manganese, copper, whatever it is. I got some deficiency that's not making me make enough of these. The good thing about it is that most of these, except for this one, and if you can get a person to stop drinking, these are considered transient. Meaning if I treat them, the patient gets better, I shouldn't have a problem again. If I get this person to stop drinking, because that may be part of it, you may have to tell them, or in our education is going to be, I find you an AA meeting, or I find you a program to stop drinking, or I may send you to detox. Because those are things that are going to help this person long term as far as managing that disease. But if it's pernicious anemia, that would be a lifelong thing. But there's no that once you get to that point, you don't really have a turnaround on those. So those all have to do with less RBCs. Now the other side of that is a person who has polycythemia. And that's too many cells. That's kind of how you get the names of everything that they talk about when you talk about hematology. And they can have this exist as a primary or a secondary type thing. So it's too many cells. Okay, so poly meaning too many. And these are cells. When you talk about cycle, and these EMEA parts always talk about whether you have too much or too little of a type of cell. So this one has too many RBCs. But it also has too many platelets. And it also has too many WBCs. But they always think about this in relationship to RBCs, but actually the person has too much of everything. Okay, primary polycythemia is rare. It's more likely a secondary problem. That secondary one is a patient who has chronic lung disease, people that live in Colorado Springs. I have friends there, y'all tell. All right, when I go there, I can't breathe, but it's all great. So you have too many cells here. Now, like I said, most of the time they talk about this in relationship to RBCs, but you actually have too many of everything. So in your head, you got to think about, if I have too many of every type of cell, what other problems could this person have? These don't really cause much of a problem when you have too many of them, unless it's a cancer, which you see in leukemia, that kind of thing. This one can, because what is it going to do? Make clots. Okay, so you got a person, now I have too many platelets, I can actually have clots, so I can have microemboli going all over the body kind of thing, which can infarct organs. Not just my lungs, but also my kidneys, my eyes, anything that gets perfusion, you got blood going to it, and I have clots there, I can kill it off. So I got to worry about that with this. Then I also have to think about, I have all these RBCs, my blood is thick and viscous, which means circulation is going to be a problem in the first place. Okay, so that's what the issue you have. So if you think about it, if I have all this blood, you already know what the thing I need to do is do what? Get rid of it, okay? So this person actually gets, because first thing you're going to do is you try to figure out why they're happening. Every disease process is always looking at, treat the underlying causes, so they're always going to come back to you, okay? And Cornelius told me, what am I going to do? Get rid of it. So what do we normally send these people to do? They actually send them to have a therapeutic phlebotomy. Now the bad part about this, which you would think this is a jackpot because we need RBCs, this is abnormal blood, so you can't transfuse it to somebody else. Otherwise, you got a money-making machine here. Just go donate plasma all the time, kind of thing. But you can't really do that. All right? Because the blood itself is abnormal. So you send them to the clinic, and they'll actually go in and take out their blood. So instead of, you know how we go and you give a unit of blood and you feel great because you gave the blood and then you're okay, you know, it's like, then you feel tired the next couple of days after that because you did give some blood away. This person keeps making it. So for them, yes, it's going to help because you don't think about, oh, I just give that little bit that I do in a blood donation. They may take more depending on how high that number is for the patient. Okay, so therapeutic phlebotomy means I'm going to send this person just like they're donating blood, but I'm going to take that blood off and it's going to be discarded. I can't give it to anybody else because it's not normal. Okay. So then what else do you think I got to do for them? Because if I want to make that blood not so thick, increase fluids. So you may give them IV fluids when you're seeing them for the acute phases, but I also want to increase their fluid intake all the time. You have to be really careful about using diuretics and that kind of stuff. Even though they may need it, I got to be careful with it because if I suck off more fluid, then that means my blood is going to be more viscous. Okay, so when you're talking about people who have hematocrits, because you remember hematocrit is 35 to 45, you're talking about sometimes people hematocrit is 52, 55, kind of stuff. So they're really hemoconcentrated. So I want to make sure that I give them IV fluids. I'm going to increase their fluid intake. I need to do that for them. These people may actually get to the point if it's really bad, I may actually have to give them anticoagulants because I don't want clots to form. Is it something we do for everybody? No. But it will be for the patients who are more severe. And they will actually have a cycle of when they're going to come in and do those phlebotomies. It's not like, oh, when I think you're going to get there. I pretty much know the cells, that how long you're, after you start seeing a patient for a while, you see that I may have to bring some people in once a month. I have to do some people every 2 months. I have to do some people every 3 months. It's all going to be individualized to that patient. But it's never going to go beyond 3 months because the normal hemoglobin cell life is that long anyway. So when you're looking at a person coming in there, when you're talking about going past that, because 4 months is about, I'm sorry, when your hemoglobin lives, because 120 days. You never see people making it to that 120th day before you bring them back in. It's because they're making cells more rapidly. You have to actually take them off. So how do you think they're going to look? They look opposite of what you saw in that pale person, right? So this is the person that looks ruddy complexion. If you look at their mucous membranes, and their conjunctiva is really red. You may actually look at the palms of their hands and they look red. Okay, so those are things that you're going to look for in that. So ruddy complexion. This person now, even though they have all these RBCs and you think oxygen can carry real well, think about it. You got too much of it. So they can also have shortness of breath. They can have the embolic events that you see happen. That's what you really worry about. I mean, a lot of things can happen to this person, but think about if you're just pouring all this blood into this person, has a different molecular weight than does fluid. You worry about heart failure. You worry about kidney failure. You worry about all the organs failing just because of the massive volume that it has to entail or it has to deal with. So that's what you worry about with this issue. Now,